if you don't like what TikTok put out and don't like what YouTube put out, then jump on Fanbase and be the change. Forbes put out their, I think it's like 10 people, right? Highest paid YouTube stars of 2021. And of course, MrBeast is number one. We've gone over him, I think 1 or 2 times so far. He's made $54 million, right? But the person that I really wanted to talk about when it comes to this list is number 6, who is a 7-year-old, right? Making $28 million.
Wow.
What?
That's incredible.
Beat Ryan, by the way. Ryan's still on the list, but I think he's number 7. So this chick what's her Nastya? Nastya. Sounds horrible, but that's her name. Is 7 years old and actually has multiple brand deals, merchandise, an NFT collection, and did something interesting that I didn't know YouTubers were doing. So there is this company called Spotters that is buying up creators' rights to their old YouTube catalog, which sounds very music industry-ish, because we've gone over that with like Tina Turner and a few other people, right? Just buying up their catalogs. And so now they're saying, oh, we don't have to only do that for music. We could do that with creators as well.
Wow.
And do the same thing. Like if it's under our possession, we are going to be able to distribute and get the deals and the licensing that you deserve. And I'm like, oh, wow. So first off, can I say I'm not wrong, where if we look at how the music industry does it, it is somewhat of a blueprint and a model of what personal brands and creators are going to have to face or are facing right now, right? Mm-hmm. So that she, and as well as one other person on the list, I think the one above her, right, had a really good deal. And they were saying it was like they give you a large sum of money in order to expand your business, right? Because on this list, it's not saying this is how much you're making from YouTube altogether. This is YouTube, this is brand deals, this is merchandise, this is touring, this is whatever other businesses that you may have. Who is it? Jake Paul is number 2 with 45 million. And it's not because of YouTube. He actually barely posts on YouTube unless it has to deal with his boxing. But he made 90% of his money from boxing.
That's good.
So what Forbes is saying is like, look, you can start on YouTube. You made probably a good amount of money on YouTube. But really, we're looking at you as a complete business situation. Where, what are your other businesses? What are your other streams of income that we could say you started here and you've grown to so much bigger? And let's give you this kind of title. And the fact that a 7-year-old has made $28 million is just crazy to me. But I don't want to, and the reason why I'm kind of already stuttering is because I don't even really like this topic. But before we recorded this podcast, I did a reel highlighting some of the creators that made this amount of money, like 54 all the way down to 28 mil is not light. And so the fact that you can come up with an idea and make money from it, I just want to celebrate.
Right.
However, of course, the topic that is still running in my comments when we're recording this is there are no creators from the YouTube level, and as well TikTok came out with their list as well, that look like us. There's no minorities on the list, right? Now, I'm not going to still make it about that, but it's obvious. Super obvious. And my response to that is more of we just have a lot more work to do. We really have to be the change of what we see tomorrow, what we see next year's charts or standings, what we see the following year. We have to make it a new normal. And there's still stuff we have to do. Maybe we have to talk to brands directly. Maybe, we have to take more ownership in certain things. Maybe we should fight more on these reportings. If they have it wrong, let's show proof. Kanye fought for his. Right. Kanye was like, hello, I'm a billionaire. Let me show you these receipts. Because clearly, you're not going to take me serious.
That's real. That's real.
Right? So I'm not trying to not really talk on the topic like that, but it's really about how do we fix this?
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Nixon. I got to start here. Eventually, we're going to have to stop guilt tripping every single time this conversation comes up. And let me be very clear, because I don't want people to think that I'm not for the culture or I'm not supportive of minorities. I mean, I think we've made it very clear about what we represent and how much we care for our culture and our people on this platform. But my point is, every single time we make that the key issue, we are responding to a trigger, and triggers are in some shape or form connected to unaddressed trauma. Right? So that's us going back to a situation that we haven't been able to resolve for centuries. And notice, the other community, I'm just going to call them the other community never comes on our platform and says, hey, how come you're not representing my people on your platform?
Right.
Why is there not representation of us on your? Because they're busy building their own. Mm-hmm. So I think the conversation that we should be focused on instead is, hey, what is it about maybe Black-owned and minority-owned companies that are not paying creators enough to be a part of that list? Mm-hmm. What is it about management, Black-owned and minority-owned management companies or agents that represent incredibly talented and creative, gifted individuals of our community that we're not able to position them in spaces to attract the same level of money? Mm-hmm. Now, we've seen some people take this path on their own. You got to give an incredible shout out to Steve Stout, Maverick Carter, and LeBron James and their camp, because they're taking it into their own hands between United Masters and I think it's called Spring Hill Entertainment or Spring Hill Cup. Between what they're doing there just amongst themselves, they're saying, you know what? We're not going to have this conversation. We're going to build the company. We're going to build and scale the platforms that eventually when we invite our talent, the only conversation that's left to have, Nix, is are we as minority-owned companies that have the platform, are we going to compensate our own people fairly and equally so that they can make these lists? So that's the part of it that I would say That's the conversation we need to be having. How can we have more of these ownership dialogues to create and put ourselves in position that we're not guilt tripping every time? And then we can just simply go out there and compete, not complain, but we can go out into the marketplace and compete.
Yeah, I think, and shout out to, we've spoken lightly about them, fan base and Isaac Hayes, the third, he spoke on it. And I mean, fan base is Black owned. So like, of course, he's going to speak on, Black creators and minority creators, not necessarily making the list, but I like what he's doing because he created a platform. Well,
right.
That's not going to be the problem here. So I'm not sitting here saying there isn't a clear unfairness that's happening. However, I'm more saying like we just got to be the change. We just got to we got to make sure that this doesn't continue to happen, or we just take our talents somewhere else. If we don't like these particular platforms, where will we be appreciated? Do we create our own and support our own?
Yeah.
So
100%.
I will say this, and this may not be a very popular thing, but if you don't like what TikTok put out and don't like what YouTube put out, then jump on fan base and be the change.
Come on. Come on.
Go where you will be celebrated instead of continuing to kick and scream at a place that doesn't necessarily acknowledge you. If it's such a problem. But 9 out of 10 times, they'll start right there.
Yeah.
Why? Because the audience is there. They're not going to go, it's not everybody, but some people are not going to go where, yes, the beliefs are great, the purpose is great, but the audience isn't there just yet. So if you have such a problem, go on fan base. Go on a platform that is looks more like us, and that's perfectly fine. But until then, find another way to create a solution. Figure out, and I put it on my post where I was like, this is an issue, but let's look at the blueprint that they're laying out and let's apply it. Let's figure out how to go all in on merchandise, all in on brand deals, all in on these different particular deals with Spotter, and those different types of companies. Let's go all in on NFTs. Let's go all in on other different events, touring. Let's go all in on that to the max, understand our analytics for YouTube in order to create the retention that we need, in order to create the niche audience that we need that can get the max AdSense. So when numbers pile up, we're at the millions. We're at the 28, the 30, the 40, the 50. We're at that. But if we're not doing all of that, can we sit and complain? Because we're sitting and complaining, and we can't even name a creator who is supposed to be making that much right now. We're just saying there needs to be more Black creators or minority-based creators. But who are you speaking about directly? Like, that's all I kept hearing was, where are the Black creators? Which one? So we could all fight. But You're not saying which one. You're just saying Black creators. Where are their receipts? And do they even want to be recognized? Maybe they don't want to be recognized. If we think about the Grammys and stuff like that, there are a bunch of artists that don't want to be recognized with the Grammys because of the politics.
That's a good point.
There's some people who don't want to be recognized because of politics. Or I don't necessarily need to be on these particular lists. I know what I do.
Right.
I'm not here to... Right.
I mean, I could just imagine people from our community say, I don't want the IRS knowing I'm making this much money. It's like...
Off of videos.
Come on. Yeah. It's like, as a matter of fact, I don't want people in my community knowing I'm making this much money. Right? I think that there's some truth to that. But I do want to say this too as well. There is a lot of information out there that we can no longer be lied to or misled. Just by listening to this clip alone, or if you just read or consume any level of content, you're given the game. Every single time somebody out there is willingly and openly sharing with you their blueprint. Yep. Which automatically is putting you ahead of them because you can no longer be lied to or misled whenever you're dealing in business. So just pay close attention to what this young girl did by almost diversifying her portfolio or her income streams by partnering in so many different areas. Yeah. So yes, she is a YouTube star and was probably first maybe blew up on that platform. But think about how many other revenue streams came from from leveraging that one skill set or that one platform. So this should really inspire us. And I know that it's boring and sometimes can be mundane, but I'm challenging a lot of us to make 2022 one of our goals should be being consistent in boring things. Mm-hmm. We talk about consistency all the time, but let's be consistent in boring things. One of those things being business fundamentals, right? Understanding operations, understanding finance, understanding business development, because that stuff is boring. It doesn't have the same type of attractiveness and appeal that marketing and branding has. But you know what? That's the difference between somebody landing on number one on that list and not being mentioned on it at all.
See what you did there. What you did there.